The Gatekeeper's Curse. Location: St. Mary's Graveyard, Ireland, 1923. In a forgotten corner of Ireland, hidden by mist and surrounded by dense, whispering woods, lies St. Mary's Graveyard, a place untouched by time, shrouded in silence, and burdened with secrets. For over 50 years, Fergus O'Connell was its caretaker, a tall, wiry man with sunken cheeks, eyes like storm clouds, and a voice that barely rose above a whisper. Locals both pitied and feared him. Children dared one another to touch his iron gate, and the elders crossed themselves when they spoke his name. They said Fergus had long forgotten what it meant to live among the living. They said, he belonged to the dead now. The Silent Watcher. Fergus lived alone in a crumbling hut at the graveyard's edge. His only companion was a weathered lantern, flickering in the night like a soul trying to escape. He had a ritual. Every evening, at exactly midnight, Fergus walked the rows. He whispered to the graves, called them by name, paused longer at certain headstones, especially the unmarked ones, and sometimes, he chuckled. More than once, villagers spotted faint lights dancing between the tombstones, accompanied by strange murmurs on the wind. They spoke of ghostly figures standing beside Fergus as he walked, and of how those who mocked him often fell ill, or disappeared. Still, no one dared confront him, until the priest arrived. The priest's visit. Father Callahan, newly appointed to the village, was young, logical, and unafraid of shadows. When he heard rumors of sorcery and communion with the dead, he dismissed them as folklore. But curiosity grew. Especially after a boy named Liam claimed he heard voices under the earth while passing the graveyard. Voices that called him by name. So, one bitter winter night, Father Callahan ventured to St. Mary's. The moon hid behind clouds, and the trees groaned in protest. He found Fergus's hut, door locked from the inside. No answer to his knock. And then, the knocking began, slow, measured. From beneath the floorboards, the journal. Father Callahan forced the door open. The hut was cold. Dust hung in the air like suspended breath. On the floor, a journal. Leather-bound, its pages yellowed and damp. Inside, the priest found cryptic entries. They spoke again last night, said the balance is off. 3 graves robbed. But no one saw. I saw. They demand silence. They demand a gatekeeper loyal to the dead, not the living. The final page stopped his heart. They're angry. I let the living in too often. Now, they want me to even the count. The unearthly graves. The next morning, a terrified gravedigger ran into the village, screaming. 7 new graves had appeared overnight, neatly dug, fresh soil, crosses planted. But there were no funerals, no deaths in town, no names. Panic spread. Some villagers fled. Others locked their doors and refused to speak Fergus's name aloud. Father Callahan returned to the graveyard with a group of men, hoping to find an explanation. What they found was worse than they imagined. Each of the 7 graves contained a coffin with no body, only personal belongings of villagers who were still alive. A locket. A child's shoe. A man's pipe. One grave held Father Callahan's own rosary. The mist beckons. Determined to break the curse, the priest returned alone that night. He carried a crucifix, holy water, and Fergus's journal. As he approached the hut, mist slithered across the ground, wrapping around his feet like fingers. He heard voices, dozens of them, whispering in Latin, Gaelic, and other tongues unknown to man. Inside the hut, the lantern flickered to life on its own. And Fergus was sitting there, or at least, something wearing Fergus's face. Its eyes were hollow, skin stretched thin over bone, and mouth stitched at the corners. In a voice like wind through tombstones, it spoke. The count must be even. The living trespassed. The gate must remain closed. The pact. Father Callahan, with trembling hands, held up the crucifix. The creature laughed. A horrible, echoing sound. Faith cannot save the broken contract. Fergus let souls escape. Now the debt is due. The priest offered a deal. His life, in exchange for the villagers. The creature tilted its head, considered, then nodded. But bargains with the dead are never fair. As Father Callahan knelt in prayer, the mist enveloped him, and when it cleared, he was gone. The graves were gone too, and Fergus's hut lay in ruins. 100 years later. In 2023, tourists hiking through rural Ireland stumbled upon the overgrown remains of St. Mary's. They found old tombstones, worn smooth by time. And in the center, 7 identical graves, unmarked, yet freshly tended. One man, curious, pried open the broken floorboards of a ruined hut nearby. Beneath them, a journal. Pages unreadable. All except one. The dead keep count. Always. And now, so do I. FC. That night, 7 new names appeared on the graves. And back in their hotel, 7 guests never woke up. The Phantom Funeral. Location, Rose Hollow Cemetery, Louisiana, 2015. A haunting in the hollow. Rose Hollow Cemetery was famous for its crumbling mausoleums, above-ground tombs, and suffocating fog that blanketed the land every October. Locals called it the Sleeping Field, but those who visited after midnight knew it by another name, the Breathing Graveyard. Most brushed it off as superstition. That changed one rainy night in 2015. A truck driver, Miles Raymond, swerved off the main road after spotting something strange in his headlights, a funeral procession. At 2:14 a.m. The procession. Miles was an ex-Marine. Not easily rattled. But what he saw chilled him. A line of mourners, all dressed in black, walking slowly along the cemetery's edge. Faces hidden under veils. A casket carried by 6 pallbearers, its wood bloated, soaked in some thick, dark liquid that dripped onto the wet ground. At the front, a priest. Or something dressed like one. Its face was blank. Smooth skin where eyes, nose, and mouth should have been. And the music. A slow, dirge-like hymn. No instruments, just a guttural chant, too deep to be human. Terrified, Miles floored the gas and fled, but not before snapping a blurry photo on his dashcam. The investigation. Local police thought it was a prank, but when they arrived, Rose Hollow Cemetery was empty. Not a footprint. Not a flower out of place. Except one thing. A trail of thick, black sludge, like tar, snaking between the graves. It led to an old family tomb, the Dubois Crypt, sealed shut since 1892. Yet the door now hung open. Inside, they found a body, decomposed but not skeletal. Skin leathery, mouth sewn tightly shut with long strands of what appeared to be human hair, clutched in its bony hands. A folded, water-stained list. Names. Dozens of them. Some already crossed out. All were local, and every single person on that list died within the year. The mortician's secret. The police sent the body to local mortician Lenora Gibbs, a quiet woman known for restoring the dead with eerie perfection. But something about this corpse was wrong. Its flesh resisted embalming fluid. It smelled not of rot, but of burnt sugar and ash. And the stitching in the mouth? It was organic. Alive. Moving, almost. Lenora, obsessed, stayed late. Tried to record her examination, but every file corrupted. Her equipment failed. She called her cousin, a folklorist from Baton Rouge. He came immediately, and when he saw the body, he whispered, "You brought it out. It's not supposed to be seen." The Phantom Funeral was a ritual, the legend of the Hollow Dead. In 1803, the land that became Rose Hollow was the site of a plantation massacre. 37 enslaved souls were buried in unmarked tombs. In grief and rage, their kin called upon a forbidden rite to bind their spirits to the land until justice was served. But over time, the ritual was twisted. A secret society of mourners formed. People who believed death could be manipulated, even traded. Every generation, they held a phantom funeral, burying a chosen soul in place of others. The name list? A warning. Break the ritual, and the count would balance itself. Blood for blood. The Dubois family, it turns out, were the last known keepers of this pact. The crypt was their altar. The list awakens. Soon, strange things began to happen around town. A boy named Timmy began drawing funeral processions in black crayon, processions that matched what Miles saw. Lenora vanished from her home, her basement found flooded with black sludge. The town pastor found a second list on his pulpit, this time with only 7 names. All current city officials. Desperate, Miles visited the cemetery again. He followed the trail of tar back to the Du Bois tomb, but what he found was worse. The casket was missing. And beside the empty slab, footprints. Dozens of them. Leading into the fog. The midnight mass. On Halloween night, Rose Hollow was silent. No wind. No fog. Not a sound. Until 12:01 a.m. Chimes rang from the bell tower. Ones that hadn't worked in over 50 years. Residents near the graveyard reported seeing shadowy figures gathered again. The same procession. The same faceless priest. But this time, it wasn't silent. They heard names being read aloud. Their names. One by one, those who heard the call died mysteriously. In their sleep. In their cars. Some simply vanished, breaking the curse. Miles, determined to end it, sought help from the oldest living Du Bois descendant, Miriam Du Bois, 93 years old, blind, and long thought senile. But Miriam remembered everything. She revealed the key. To stop the phantom funeral, someone had to take the place of the marked. Willingly. A life for a life. Miles, guilt-ridden and haunted by what he'd seen, volunteered. That night, he walked into the graveyard alone. At 2:14 a.m., a procession emerged to meet him. This time, they welcomed him. The faceless priest extended its hand. Miles took it. And vanished. The peace that never was. The list vanished. The death stopped. For a time. But 2 years later, a new list surfaced, found inside the Du Bois tomb, now inexplicably sealed again. At the bottom of the list, written in elegant black ink. Procession resumes. Count, 37. And below that. Caretaker, Mr. No one has seen Miles Raymond since. But on foggy nights in Rose Hollow, some still hear the dirge. Some still see the casket dripping black. And some know. The dead are walking again.